orthodontists straighten teeth. That's their job, right? What if I told you that the way we've been doing it for decades could actually cause bigger problems later on?
God, please, no! No!
Problems that have nothing to do with your smile, but everything to do with your health. I see it all the time. Adults coming in wondering why they're dealing with issues they never expected. And when we trace it back, well, let's just say that braces might not be as innocent as they seem. Stick with me because what I'm about to share could completely change the way you think about orthodontics. I'm an orthodontist. I love straight teeth. But a beautiful smile shouldn't come at the expense of your overall health. The problem? Traditional orthodontics has been laser focused on alignment for decades without always considering the long-term effects. And if you've ever had that feeling of, wow, why does no one tell you this stuff? Buckle up because we're about to go there. Before we get into that, please hit the like button and subscribe so we can continue to get more helpful content out there. Let's say your kid's mouth is like a crowded elevator. Too many people, not enough room. Traditional orthodontics solve this by either expanding the elevator, great, or pulling a few people out, not great. That's what happens when teeth are pulled to make space. Sounds logical, right? There's a catch. Instead of actually making the mouth bigger, extractions can reduce the space inside the mouth, making it smaller, which leads to some unexpected and not so fun side effects, ones that don't show up until years later. You ever met someone who's constantly tired? Like they wake up exhausted, drink 3 cups of coffee just to function, and still feel like they need a nap?
I'm tired. I am sick and tired.
Turns out, the way your teeth were straightened as a kid could be playing a role in that. Here's why. When the mouth is made smaller, all the important stuff behind the teeth, like your tongue and your soft palate, they get pushed back into the airway. And when that happens, breathing while you sleep becomes a struggle. Maybe you snore, maybe you toss and turn all night, maybe you wake up feeling like you just fought a grizzly bear in your dreams. But the real reason? There's not enough room for air to move freely from the outside, through your mouth, and into your lungs. It's almost like sipping air through a straw. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I had braces years ago. Why would this be affecting me now? Great question. I see adults all the time who are struggling with these exact issues and never made the connection. They thought they were just unlucky or aging or stressed, but when we dig deeper, we find the same thing. Their orthodontic treatment actually shrunk their mouth space. So now they're paying the price. All right, let's talk about something super weird that happens in orthodontics. Ever heard of interproximal reduction, or AKA IPR? No? Well, that's because no one really talks about it. It's when orthodontists shave down your teeth to make them fit together better. Sounds harmless, right? But what they don't tell you is that by dramatically reducing the tooth size, you're also reducing the space inside your mouth. And guess what that impacts? Yep, your airway. It's like buying a pair of jeans one size too small and just sucking in forever.
Suck it in!
Not too comfortable. On the other hand, IPR is not entirely a bad thing, because if it's done carefully on specific teeth and conservatively, you are safe. After studying the shape of the teeth, my max limit is 0.3 millimeters of space between the teeth. There are exceptions for really funky shaped teeth, but for the most part, 0.3 millimeters is the limit in my book. And I've seen IPR be totally overdone and the teeth look like blocks instead of that rounded, nice, natural shape. Ever tried brushing around braces? It's like playing Operation, but if you lose, you get cavities instead of a buzzy noise. The brackets and wires trap food and plaque, making it way harder to clean your teeth properly. And the result? Cavities, fillings, and eventually bigger dental issues down the road. So, if you ever wondered why people who had braces as kids end up needing crowns, root canals, or even implants later in life, well, mystery solved. All right, so now that you know the truth about traditional orthodontics, the big question is, what can you actually do about it? If you're an adult thinking, well, great, my teeth are already straight, but now you're telling me I might be paying for it in ways I didn't even realize, you're not alone. I see this all the time. And here's the good news. Just because your orthodontist may have shrunk your mouth back in the day doesn't mean you're stuck with it forever.
Nice.
Remember earlier when I said some of my adult patients come in exhausted, struggling to breathe at night, feeling like their body's just not working right? When we take a closer look, we usually find that their jaws are super narrow. The bite is misaligned, meaning it's off, and their tongue has nowhere to go. So their airway is way too small. And since we can't exactly go back in time and tell the child orthodontist to do it differently, we have to fix it now. So the solution is to widen that airspace, and there's 3 ways to do that by expanding in an adult today. About 50 years ago, a great orthodontist named Andy Haas from Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, he brought to the orthodontic world a contraption called RPE, which stands for Rapid Palatal Expander. Genius. To this day, the appliance is still called the Haas Expander. So today's adults can widen their jaw and their airway with expanding the bone. But wait, didn't you just say the bone is hardened in adults? Yes, so here it goes. Option 1, SARPE, stands for Surgically Assisted Rapid Palatal Expansion. This is done under general anesthesia, and they cut your upper jaw all the way across, then they crank the metal expander that's glued in, and they widen. On a pain scale 1 to 10, this is a 10.
What?
Option number 2, a MARPE, stands for Mini Implant Assisted Rapid Palatal Expansion. You need to get a special bone scan first to see if it's possible to get these screws in your bone. Then they drill 4 screws into the roof of your mouth, the palate. Then you get to crank that expander that's glued in daily for almost 30 days. On a pain scale of 1 to 10, this is a 9.
That's not good enough.
Option 3. This is a super controversial way to widen the palate in adults because so far, everything I've mentioned, there's the word rapid, which means it's fast, but this is called slow expansion. No surgery, no screws, but it takes a long time, about 18 months. And the turns are done once per week. On a pain scale of 1 to 10, this is a 3. And that's only when you're cranking it, which is once a week. So why is it controversial? Well, that's between orthodontic specialists. And the reason is you don't want it widen too fast where only the teeth are widening and the actual jaw and the bone gets left behind. Take a look at Jasmine. She was 21 years old when she came and saw me. And wow, her upper jaw was super narrow and crowded. And that caused problems on the bottom jaw as well. So everything, the whole mouth was narrow and crowded. And take a look how difficult it is for her to keep her teeth clean. So that's just another problem that was added on. So my knee-jerk reaction is, we got to do surgery. But then I thought, you know what? Let's try something controversial.
I am the one.
And Jasmine was all about it because nobody wants to do surgery, right?
Right.
What we did is we did slow expansion. Really took our time. This was a long treatment, around 24 months total. And usually my average treatment time is 18 months for braces. But in this case, we took it a little slower. Take a look at her upper jaw, how narrow and shaped it was. It's like a pointy shape. And what we wanted to do is get to that U shape. And this is here as a progress picture. We're probably about 10 months into it, and we've already given it that shape. And notice how the bone has already changed. And the way we did that is we used something that's called a fan expander. It's a metal expander that's glued in, but instead of widening like this, it widens like a fan, slowly. So take a look at her before and after, side by side. Look at her upper jaw, look at her picture from the front, and look at her smile. Now finally her tongue has the space. She can breathe better. Why? Because we've changed the shape of her upper and lower jaw. We've changed the shape of her mouth. And now it's a highway. Now you get all that oxygen in, you just feel better. And this treatment changed Jasmine's life. How do I know that? Because Jasmine said her braces and her expander have changed her life. I'm not against surgery. I've had surgical patients that I worked on, but this is just another way of doing it. It's a lot longer, but you can't deny the before and after results.
It's potential. I can't deny it, you know.
If we know that a lack of space is the fundamental cause of all these problems, the smartest thing we can do is prevent it from ever happening in the first place. And the best time to do that is between the ages of 6 to 9. Why? Because at this age, the jawbone is still developing. It's moldable. We can guide its growth naturally instead of trying to force corrections later on when the bones have already hardened. The problem with waiting too long, think of it like wet cement. When it's still soft, you can shape it however you want. But once it hardens, any changes now are much more difficult. And that's exactly why adult orthodontic treatment is more complicated and painful. By acting early, we can expand the mouth while it's still growing, making sure there's enough room for all the teeth and the tongue, so we never have to pull teeth, shave them down, or create a situation that leads to airway issues down the road. So how do we actually do this? Well, instead of using those medieval metal expanders that get cranked open like a garage door every night, I'm not kidding, that's real. We use Invisalign first, a system made specifically for kids in the 6 to 9 age range. And here's what's amazing. No painful metal expanders, no cranking screws, no tears, no traumatized kids. It works in 3 dimensions at once. Unlike braces, which work in phases, Invisalign first corrects everything at the same time, cutting total treatment time in half. It's virtually painless. No metal wires poking their cheeks, no brackets cutting their lips, no sore jaws from tightening. It's removable, which means they can actually brush their teeth, so no more cavities caused by braces, making cleaning nearly impossible. Look, if you're an adult watching this and realizing, wow, that explains a lot about my sleep, my jaw, or my overall health, I get it. And the good news, it can be fixed. But if your kid is between the ages of 6 to 9, we have an even better opportunity to make sure they never have to deal with these issues at all. After age 9, though, the jaw starts to harden. The window to guide its growth naturally closes fast. If you wait, fixing these problems gets harder, longer, and more expensive. But if you start now, we can do it quickly, painlessly, and with results that last a lifetime. But the number one objection I hear all the time, what if my child loses their aligners? Well, I made a whole video about that right here. All this can cause a little anxiety, but I want to encourage you with something that always brings me peace. 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. If you are humble, God wants you to cast all your cares upon him because he loves you that much. If you're proud, God will resist you. We have free will. What will you choose?